Welcome to the SciFi Pubcast. Come for a drink, but stay for the speculation. It seems the pub has been on a vacation for a while now, but that's okay because we're back and talking the Star Trek cruise and Professor Randal Graham's latest novel, Nether Regions. Randal joins us, and as always, he brings it. So grab a badly needed margarita and enjoy. This is the SciFi Pubcast. Greetings, welcome to the SciFi Pubcast, the podcast that tries to be a pub, and perhaps someday a pub that tries to be a podcast. And as always, we are looking for customers to come visit our bar. If you're passionate about something, want to be on a podcast, well, let us know because this bar is all about community. If you want to help us, please consider leaving a 5-star review wherever you find the show and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Yes, my name is Joel. I'm the owner of the SciFi Pubcast, so to speak. And it's been a bit, and it's all my fault because I went back to school to do a PhD and I got really busy. And I'm still working on my PhD and I'm really, really behind. But I'm having fun. I'm having probably the best time of my life, to be quite truthful to you. So today we have a full complement of staff members in the bar. It's amazing. Yes, it's 101st episode. And we have Keri Simpson, Derek Beebe, and Randal Graham, Professor Randal Graham, author, Before Life, Afterlife Crisis, and his latest, Nether Regions. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello. I'm sorry. Who are all you people? Oh wait.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
It has been a while.
It's just been that long. Okay.
Yeah. It's been brutal, and again, it's my fault, and I'm sorry. I love talking about science fiction stuff and pop culture and all that good stuff, and I need to do more of that to keep myself sane. So yes.
Well, you have been doing it. You've just taken the show on the road.
Yeah, I've been doing the stuff on the road, and I've been looking at it from more of an academic point of view, and I've been reading. And at some point, I need to produce more copy, and that's going to be next week. I'm working on it.
And I do have to correct one thing Joel just said. Joel talked about being radically behind in his PhD. I am vaguely involved in Joel's PhD, as I think some of the listeners know. I'm Joel's supervisor at the law school, and he's knocking it out of the park. He says he's behind, but one of the things that you have to do early on in your PhD career is some public talks on some of the topics related to your dissertation, and that's what I mean when I say Joel's taken it on the road. He's been running around in various venues doing a talk on Ferengi and economics and Yankee traders and U.S. history, and he's been doing a great job. So I wanted to make sure I got to correct that.
That's so kind of you, Randal. Thank you very much. And we'll see. My new thing is pitching ideas for panels at conventions. Yes, this is what I'm spending my pension money on. And it's well deserved, I think. So, but before we get to Randal and his happenings, because I'm sure there's happenings with Randal, because there's always are with Randal, let's start with our usual pecking order. Keri, how's your day and how's life in Southern California?
Life in Southern California is a bit gloomy at the moment, which I am not sad about at all because it means that it's not going to get hot until maybe next week, which will, it can stay like this for as long as it wants. I'm sure it'll bite us all in the ass later on, but yeah, it's supposed to get up to 90 sometime next weekend. So yay.
Hey, on the bright side, you're not in Texas or Florida right now.
This is true. I have nowhere near those shit shows. So yeah.
I was in Florida 2 weeks ago, and it was, high 80s, and I love Florida for the most part. Yeah.
I wasn't talking about the weather.
Great. And we have Derek Beebe from the hills of Pennsylvania. Hi, Derek.
Hi.
How you doing, man? How you doing? It's been a while.
I'm actually heading into some big changes in my life. I have decided to go into self-publishing for my books. I've hired a cover artist and an editor, so I will be working on that in the coming months, and pretty soon I'll be putting books out on Amazon Kindle Marketplace.
Congratulations.
Oh. Yeah.
That's fantastic to hear. I just had a conversation this morning where I won't get into the whole publishing business in Canada, but there was a publisher who was on the record saying that it's probably better off for writers to self-publish at this point because of monopolies and just the way that the industry has gone. I can't speak to that, but That's great news. I think I'm going to self-publish my my dissertation if I ever finish the dissertation. We'll see. So you must be excited, Derek. This is huge news, actually.
Yeah, these are the stories I've been working on ever since I was in middle school. So
Yeah.
I'm, and I got sick and tired of, working on these stories for all these years and nobody ever reading them. And I'm getting older. I'm 42 years old now. So I figured this is the year when, I stop wasting time and I start making some major life changes and start fulfilling what I've been working towards all this time.
You finally found the meaning of life at age 42. Excellent.
Yes, exactly. Well,
Hey.
well, that's why it happened. 42 is the answer to the question of life, the universe, and everything. And also, this is the 30th anniversary of me starting the one story as well. So
wow. Okay.
It felt like this was
Wow.
time.
But Derek, you say 42 is the answer. What was the question?
I don't know. I have to build a supercomputer for that.
All right. Listen, I'm very happy that you're going this direction in your life. I will support you. I'll buy your books, but you still have a job to do, Derek, at this point. So I got to ask you this, my friend. The whole pub, the SciFi Pubcast, our kitchen, how's it doing? Like, what's been happening in the last, 6 months?
Well, yeah, once again, we were gone for a very long period of time. And, when that happens, we just seal the place off and walk away and, just wonder what little surprises we'll find when we come back. There were no strange dead creatures this time, so that's good. Everything was covered in a very thick coating of dust that I'm afraid is going to be in the food for a while now. Now, today we're talking about Randal and Joel going on the Star Trek cruise, and we'll also be mentioning Randal's books, The Nether Regions, that came out some time ago. So because we're talking about Randal's Nether Regions, I did decide to serve crabs today. And so there is going to be a fair amount of dust in them. And I also use that, I think it's called bay powder or something. It's like some kind of seasoning that you use with crabs. So it's kind of a mixture of dust and bay powder. And I have found that it really gets stuck on your face. It's very hard to wash off. So once you've tried these Randal-themed crabs, you are never going to get rid of them.
Oh, no.
Right. This is what happens when you go on a sea voyage, right?
I know we've left Randall speechless. I apologize, Randall.
Well, there were a number of metaphors going on in there about my nether regions being dusty, and yeah, I am slightly gobsmacked, I have to admit. But thank you for that, Derek. Much appreciated. But this is what happens when you call your book Nether Regions. You're
Exactly.
opening yourself up for a world of something.
Oh, dear Lord. All right, I'm just going to move on from this point. And hey, Randall.
Probably a good idea.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it's been a while. I know I communicate with you almost daily because I have to, and plus it's fun. But what's happening in your life that you want to share to with the general population, and your law students and your colleagues and anyone else with internet connection?
So much craziness is afoot right now. And some of it, the stuff that is actually taking up most of my time right now, I can't talk about yet, but I will be able to talk about it soon, hopefully on next episode or something. So that is one iron in the fire that's keeping me occupied. Is something that is a national secret right now. Well, not really, but it's a secret for me. But I will hopefully be able to spill the beans about that later on. But the big thing for me this year was I was teaching in person again. As those of you who are my friends and colleagues know, that my father-in-law had a kidney transplant last summer, and because of that, we were on more lockdown than most people because we couldn't afford to get him sick. And so I taught for an extra year remotely, and it's only this past academic year that I've been back in person, and even then I was masked. But that's all done now. We're all mask-free, and Gary, that's the father-in-law in question, he's able to move about more, and he's doing really, really well. So that's fantastic news. His health is fantastic. He's 80 years old, but he's doing great. And so that has been a big thing that has taken up a lot of psychological resources is coping with all of that and getting back teaching in person. Another thing that's been a major time suck is I've got this PhD student. He's a huge pain in the ass, and I'm always having to read his stuff and go to his talks. I didn't actually go to his talk this weekend, so I'm feeling guilty about that. But no, it's actually been a joy to have Joel back. A, because he's my friend. B, because he does fun work and he's really good at it. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. And he gets a friend because I get a new PhD student in September coming to work in statutory interpretation and income tax law. And I guess the other two minor pieces of info, I had a book come out in September, Nether Regions, and which we've already mentioned, and that's been bubbling along. And I'm working on, there's a picture of my Nether Regions on the internet. And I've also been working on another book now. My next book is a standalone. It has nothing to do with the Before Life trilogy. It's set in a law school. And one of my best friends in life is the professor of legal history at Western, and the professor of legal history in my book gets killed on page 1. So he's trying not to take that personally.
And he's you kill your best friend in like the first page of, wow.
Well, no,
that's harsh.
I've been trying to convince everyone that none of the people in the book are based on real people, and he really isn't. I just wanted to make it the professor of legal history for reasons related to the plot later on, and it's not set in Western law school. It's set in a made-up law school, and but I'm having fun with that, and that's keeping me largely out of trouble.
So, Randal, you have a habit of killing characters off in your books that loosely based on real people, right? Okay.
I've done it before.
I'm just gonna say your Nether Regions book, just a site page 115, so 115. There's a Joel fellow that lasted 3 pages, maybe 3.5 pages. Do you care to explain?
Yeah, Joel died in my Nether Regions, which I don't know if that's a thing that's ever happened or been said on the interwebs before. But yeah, I decided I have stayed, true to one strict rule, and that is I didn't put anyone real in my books for the longest time, because my book's set in the afterlife, right? The 3 books I've written in the past, and so that means that everyone had to be dead, and so the only true to life people who I put in there are people I know. They're long dead celebrities and historians, historical characters, scientists, that sort of thing. And I've populated my books with those. But I finally decided that I would have a couple of people who were named after friends of mine in this one, and I mind wiped them both really quickly. And so that's what happened to Joel.
Yeah, that explains why I needed more work on my PhD, and I'm so far behind.
Yeah, fair enough.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's great. And just for a quick update on what I've been doing. So I was in Florida. I managed to see a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launch from the Kennedy Space Center, which was amazing. That's the second launch.
It didn't explode this time?
No. Actually, SpaceX has a really good. Well, the Falcon 9 is reliable as hell, and yeah. That was great. I was delayed for a couple of days, and somehow the stars in line, no pun intended, and I managed to actually catch it on the way down to Miami Beach. So that's great. I also saw a special panel that's right on point with my dissertation, basically the influence of science fiction on scientists and STEM and the space exploration. So I saw some fairly ranking members of NASA, as well as an Australian actress by name of Jess Bush, who plays Chapel in the new Strange New Worlds Star Trek. So that was fantastic. So I got to ask them a question, because of course this is what I do. I sit up in a room of people and ask annoying questions, softball questions. I like people to actually explain. Yeah, I don't like to do the sucker punch thing. So I always like asking open-ended questions. So that was fantastic. And now I'm back in London, Ontario, and back to work. Yay!
Oh,
But
speaking of Strange New World, since we have a couple of legal experts on here, what was your professional legal opinion of the recent courtroom trial episode of the show?
Yeah. So who do you want to hear from first? The teacher or the student? Okay.
Always two there are, the master and the apprentice.
Yeah. It was a good storytelling, but legally it's out to lunch. Of course it is. It's TV storytelling. I really enjoyed the episode, but there's so many legal processes and just the logical, reasonable, like rational things that just didn't make sense to anyone with any legal training. But such is life. Rules of evidence, always just so annoying, especially when you questioning witnesses and what you can do, what you can't do, and the fact that you can't really argue your conclusions, your closings, while questioning witnesses. You just ask the question. That.
Yeah, I had a similar view. I enjoyed watching it. I felt it hit all the emotional spots it was supposed to hit. It hit them in me as well. But in the meanwhile, there was this voice in the back of my head being mightily annoyed at all of the sort of silly-ish legal things that were happening. And that was a little bit irksome. But I don't hold the show to account for that, because I imagine that if I were a police officer and I watched cop shows, I'd probably get annoyed at all the things that they got wrong. Or if I were a physician and watched medical shows, I'd be annoyed at all the things that they got wrong. They're not trying to get them right. They're trying to entertain us with a nice story, and I like that. And I want justice for Bashir's dad. That's all I will say about that topic. I demand justice for Bashir's father, because you'd think that by the time things got Deep Space Nine was around, things would have been sorted after that lovely speech that we all got to hear.
Well, there's only been a couple hundred years, maybe. I think less than that probably. It's still a work in progress.
The wheels of justice grind slowly, and lawyers are paid by the hour.
Yes, and we haven't had to deal with deal with the actual cause of the law again yet, because Star Trek 2 hasn't happened as we're looking at Strange New Worlds. But yeah,
at least in this episode, it was an actual lawyer arguing the case instead of one of our main characters suddenly becoming a lawyer out of the blue.
Yeah,
true, and it helps that the lawyer was also, if you guys haven't seen her in, I'm not going to butcher her name, but if you guys haven't seen her in American Gods, go watch, because she plays Bilquis and she's freaking amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought she did a great job.
Agreed.
She performed really well. I love that whole cast. I think that cast is doing a great job. I'm glad that they explicitly underlined Noonien Singh and highlighted that in relation to the eugenics issues. I thought that was fun. And I'm really enjoying the cast on Strange Worlds. I think they're doing a great job.
Agreed. My only issue is, and this is just me, I love Ethan Peck's Spock, but scruffy Spock was kind of hot, and clean shaven Spock is like, okay.
Yeah. Hey, there you go. Who knew? Okay.
I don't know.
I'm never a fan of facial hair. Sorry, Joel.
I'm not usually, but yeah.
Sorry, a little sidebar rabbit hole. So I have a full face beard. It takes me about 3-4 weeks to grow it back. And I got bored like 2 months ago, and so I shaved it off. And everyone who walked into the real bar I worked at, going, "Who's this?" Right? I freaked people out for a week. People just didn't know who I am, who I was. It was great. Now I grew my beard back, and I think I'm going to keep it on the longer side. So Okay, there you go. Yeah, why not? I'm a grad student. I can do what I want. Freedom, right? Okay.
I have one final sidebar to detract us from our actual topic. We learned the other day that Star Trek Prodigy got canceled and they're yanking it from the Paramount service. So that's terrible news. And I'm watching the show right now in memoriam before they yank it from the service. But apparently season 2 has been completed and unaired, and they're just gonna shop it to some other network. So look forward to seeing season 2, but that's
unless they decide not to air it due to and collect the insurance money like they did with the Batgirl movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, the season 1 the first 10 episodes of season 1 have sold out on Amazon.
Oh, really? Jeez.
And I don't know about the action figures yet, but get those before they're gone, guys.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, let's talk about something more happy, because we need some happiness in our life, right? And this is, oh my God, besides talking about Randal's Nether Regions, we're going to be talking about the Star Trek, the cruise from February of 2023, and probably next year's cruise, which is happening in February 2024, because on the cruise, I went with Randal and with a few other people, and what an experience, I must tell you. Now, we've had Randal back on the show back in the day twice talking about the Star Trek cruise, and that's one of the reasons I was on this cruise, because I had experienced it firsthand. Sir, Randal, what would you say was different about this cruise than your previous experiences with past cruises with the Star Trek cruise?
The thing that leaves the strongest impression is I got COVID.
No.
I was one of those unicorns, and I was so proud of it. I walked around for 3 years. I didn't get COVID. I have all my vaccines. I wore a mask everywhere. And as Joel knows, I was one of very few people on the cruise who wore a mask in all the indoor venues. But when, something protects you from 98% of likelihood of getting COVID, and you're in a room with 5,000 people watching Star Trek stuff happen and none of them has a mask on, you're going to get COVID. And I and about half the ship got COVID. And it seemed to be some weird, consistent variant for those of us who got it on the ship. I didn't get sick until the 2 days after the cruise, so I probably picked it up toward the end of the cruise. And all of us who were on the cruise reported the same thing: incredible dizziness, very few respiratory symptoms, and just exhaustion. And so I had that. And because I mentioned earlier, my father-in-law had immunocompromised status because of his kidney transplant. We're his primary family contacts. He doesn't live with us, but he lives in town. And since my wife sees him quite frequently, I couldn't be around my wife for a week after the cruise. So I went and checked into a hotel and lived on my own until COVID was gone, and I tested negative after 9 days. But that is one big, strong memory of the cruise for me, is that this time I got COVID. The other thing that was majorly different from past cruises is this time we departed from LA rather than departing from Florida. And as those of you who were around LA this past February know, the weather was crap.
Oh, it was terrible.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
horrible.
Well, hey, you guys at least missed the ginormous storm that hit like right after you guys left port, because that we were supposed to, my teacher and I were supposed to go up to Berkeley that weekend, and that didn't happen because flooding everywhere.
Yeah, it was crazy. It snowed in LA before we got there, and like
it did.
We the Canadians brought it with us, and so those are negative things about the cruise. I don't want to leave a negative impression about it, because I had a fantastic time. It was a blast. One big change, of course, Joel was there, which was great.
Yeah, I didn't see any pictures of you guys together.
We're probably each taking pictures of the other one.
Okay.
So yeah, we did spend a lot of time together. We tended to have breakfast together most days, and the cast was also a bit different. Tawny Newsome was on the cruise for the first time. Mariner, she's fantastic. She is one of my favorite ad-libbing actors, comedian type people who I've ever seen. Like, she does fantastic ad-libs in voiceovers for old TOS episodes. She did some of that and was just hilarious. And yeah, great cast, lovely people as always. That's the same as usual. But I guess the other big change that I should mention is they have a VIP program now that slightly changes the way the cruise is run, and I opted to buy that. I thought it was great, but I think they shouldn't have named it the VIP, because me having purchased somewhat different rights than other people on the cruise doesn't make me very important. It just gives me access to different activities. Similarly, you can buy autographs, you can buy photo sessions. I don't buy those, and I don't feel less important than the people who acquire that right. So the fact that I get an assigned seat, or I get to go to a couple other events, it doesn't make that group of people very important. And that title caused some division among people who were planning to go on the cruise before we even embarked on the cruise. So that was a big change. It allowed you to skip lines. It gave you assigned seating in the main theater. So I always got a front row seat in the theater with my name on it. And that stuff was good. But yeah, I think it made some people feel it was sort of a non-Star Trek-y choice for us to make to create a hierarchy, or an apparent hierarchy on the cruise. But those are the big differences. But again, everything has sounded a little bit complaining, but it was a blast. The cruise was fantastic. I had a great time. I immediately signed up, of course, for next year's cruise. We're back to Florida for next year's cruise and heading down to South America. And yeah, I had a blast. 10 out of 10, would do it a zillion times over. And it was lovely to have Joel there too.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. I signed up for next year's cruise as well, out of Port Canaveral, and I'm taking my brother Sean with me, so it'll be two of us there. So it'll be good. And now I know what to expect. And to me, the biggest thing about, say, a theme cruise like this one, the Star Trek cruise, is the lack of lines. Yeah, there's a few lines, but mostly entertainment panels, you just walk in. And that's amazing. Having been, to many Star Wars celebrations over the years or other Comic Cons, it's like, wow, it's just so much more civilized now. You pay for the privilege, but still, it's civilized.
Yeah, the lineups that tend to happen on the cruise are for the individual autograph and photograph sessions. Like if you want to get your picture taken with one of the actors, you end up standing in line a bit for that, unless you buy the VIP access thingammy. But yeah, there are no lines for the entertainment, no lines for any of the big sessions with the scientists or with the cast. And always a million things to do on the ship. And one of the hardest choices you have to make over the course of your time on the cruise is, what am I going to do this afternoon when there are 3 awesome things happening at once? It's like you might want to go and have cocktails with the visitor, or you might want to go and see a lecture by Dr. Aaron MacDonald, or you might want to go and watch a reading of his novel by the actor who plays Garrick, Andrew Robinson. So many great things happening all at once. And I just have to keep going. So that I can eventually do some version of everything you can do on the cruise.
I know my experience being from Canada and well, I was smart enough. I got to Long Beach a few days before, so I didn't have to worry about if my flight was delayed or anything like that. So that was good. So I spent some time in Long Beach. Of course, me being me, I found an Irish pub to go to and started to meet the locals, and that was kind of cool. And that's where
the locals, including me.
Yes, I had a drink with you. You came down. You braved the traffic and drove all the way down to Long Beach. I want to thank you again. That was great.
I braved the traffic and just barely missed the snow on the way back.
Oh wow, that was good.
And I was very disappointed to find out that Randal's flight didn't get in until the next day.
Oh yeah,
but that's okay.
Such is life.
Such is life.
Is that the first time you two met in person?
No.
Yeah.
We hung out the last time he came to LA, and then we hung out a bit at right. Star Wars Celebration. And one of these days, I may get the both of you to Star Trek Las Vegas.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That'd be a blast.
Yeah. Also, yeah, I know. The first time I met you was maybe 5 years ago, and we went on the backlot tour of Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah, we did. That was fun.
Yeah. I just remember. So I've never been on a cruise ship before, right? I've been on ships, either like naval ships or merchant marine type ships, right? I've never actually been on a cruise ship before. So I finally got on board, and I did one of those. Okay, where am I going? What do I do? Why are there people in front of me? Is that a bar? Okay.
And this is a proper full-size cruise ship, right?
Yeah. So at one point when it was built, it was like the largest ship in the world. Now it's like 20 or something like that. Jeez. So these things aren't small, right? Yeah. And I just remember, and it's it was a miserable weather experience, right? Boarding the ship, it was downpouring rain. And of course, this is Southern California. Folks aren't dressed for that. I was wearing every single piece of clothing I had, basically. We were trying to hide under the awnings of the cruise ship terminal because they let all the VIPs in first.
Oops. Of course.
Okay. But it was actually cool.
Wait. You guys, you both are from Canada, and you couldn't handle the cold in LA? Seriously?
Well, I didn't even notice that. Like Joel said, they let the VIPs in right away. So there was this one moment when Joel texted me and said, I'm standing out here in like almost freezing rain. What are you guys doing? And so I texted Joel a picture of myself and Tom Telfer, my colleague from the law school, who was also a VIP. We were having a champagne reception with the cast in the warmth of the boat, and Joel's out there huddled in the cold. So
Joel should be careful what he asks you. That's his own damn fault.
Yeah. But it was actually good because, I spent many, many years doing a certain profession, and it came in useful when I was in the crowd of people, and I was texting Randal and taking pictures, which I didn't share obviously on a public platform, where all these actors showed up, right? Hey, this is so-and-so. Hey, that's so-and-so. Hey, that's his family. Whatever. It was really fun. So surveillance. Can't go wrong. Okay. Anyway, Ray, I got on the ship, and I headed to the upper decks for the whirlpool. And literally, it's still like almost freezing rain. I'm in the whirlpool, just wearing basically a bathing suit. And there was a couple there who was also there, and we were just having the best time of our lives. And that couple, well, they're from Canada. They were actually from Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, so that was special.
Nice.
And when we went to sea, quite frankly, it was a bit of a rough, sea state in terms of, rockiness of the boats. It's been a while, I mean, decades since I spent any time at sea, and it was good. It wasn't too awful horrible, but you knew you were on the ocean. And then
especially when we were closer to LA. Yeah, when we were further north, it was quite rocky and windy and rainy. When we got down closer to Mexico, things quietened down and got nice and warm, and that was good. But it was much rockier than the Caribbean iterations of the cruise that I've been on. This is my third Star Trek cruise, and this was by far the rockiest.
Well, like I said, you missed out on all the really fun stuff. So lucky you guys.
Yeah, I know. I hit the panels. I hit some of the nighttime shows. But quite frankly, I pulled a Joel for most of this cruise, where I actually found a place I really enjoyed and took up residence. In which case, it was O'Tribble's pub. So
O'Tribble's.
And I was drinking cider for most of the trips. So it was me and Strongbow and O'Tribble's and the bartender from, I believe he was from Bosnia. I don't remember his first name, but it was good conversations.
Nice. Yeah.
I got 2 massages from Garrick.
What?
Really?
Well, kinda. Perhaps I've said too much. No, perhaps I've engaged in a little bit of hyperbole.
No. Now you have to explain.
Well, I wanted a quote for my book to put on the cover, and
I'm walking along the deck one day, and I see Andrew Robinson standing there, and I was walking by, and I said, "Oh, thanks so much for coming on the cruise. We really appreciate having you." This was the first time he was there, and he seemed grateful to be recognized, which is hilarious because everyone on the boat would recognize Andrew Robinson. And he's a very kindly older gent. He's 81 years old, and he is one of those folks who, when they talk to you, will put a hand on your shoulder. And so he gave me a little shoulder rub while we sat there, and I squeezed my arm, and we chatted for a little while. And then at one of the a couple days later, at one of the VIP receptions, he sat down and had a glass of champagne sitting across from me, and he leaned over and did the same thing. I'm like, same shoulder, it's the Garrick shoulder.
Nice.
So,
nice. Speaking of, you guys know that A Stitch in Time is being finally released as an audiobook narrated by Andrew Robinson, right?
Yeah, he read excerpts from it on the cruise, and
excellent.
It was really fun.
That's crazy because that book came out 23 years ago, and they're just now doing an audiobook of it.
Yeah. Apparently, there was a very, very active internet campaign to get him to do the audiobook at some point, because the audiobook's out of print. I mean, I'm looking at Amazon right now, and the paperback is like $170.
What? I think I own that. I have that somewhere. I should sell that.
Well, I have it on Kindle, but yeah, the a newish version of the mass market paperback is almost $500.
Wow.
Which is
I still have the original version somewhere.
I pre-ordered the audio on Apple Books as soon as I found out on it through the social media. And I think I sent Randal a screenshot. This is what I do, late at night. Oh my God, much to share.
You bug your boss in the middle of the night. I'm surprised he hasn't fired you by now.
Oh yeah, I know. Story of my life.
Also, in the Venn diagram of the things that we're talking about today, the cruise and my book, there was some overlap on the cruise when Joel got a picture of Robert Picardo holding my Nether Regions. No. In fact, he was holding Before Life. He had the first book, not the third one. But he and I got talking about writing novels. He was talking about playing a character who was a hologram who wrote Photons Be Free, and the intellectual property rights at issue in that. And I mentioned that I was a writer, and we got talking about my book. And I said, hold on. And I walked over to my cabin. I grabbed a copy of Before Life and gave it to him. And then Joel was, believe it or not, he was in O'Tribble's, the pub, beside her. And Robert Picardo wandered by, and Joel sees that Picardo's holding a copy of my book. And so I, of course, texted back, oh, wow, what a weird coincidence. I can't believe you had that.
And of course, I'm a Planetary Society member, right? So I know Robert Picardo from his Planetary Society work as well as going, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah, he was lovely. The cast, they're just fantastic. It was very nice to interact with the cast again. Really good cruise, and I highly recommend it to anyone who has the inclination.
The panels were interesting. We went to the one a DNA panel and actually got taught some real science, which was amazing, by the fellow from Duke and from a few others, I think. It was like karaoke stuff. That was fun, right? Like I wish I had talent. The biggest thing is that the passengers who are on board, they take a year to prepare for everything. So it cosplays all over the place. It's galore. And you change your cosplay on a daily basis, if not twice a day. And people spend a lot of time and effort and money to be creative. And you see that as well in terms of decorations on your cabin door. And they have contests. And it's like, wow, these people are really into it and they don't care. And I love that. So I got a red shirt from Star Trek, and I have a yellow shirt from Star Trek, and I basically just every other day I just change them. I walk around. It was great. For some actually
I need to do a plug here. There's a company called Bicycle Booth that makes bicycle gear, like for competitive bike riding and triathlon suits and whatnot. So I'm now the proud owner of 3 Star Trek triathlon suits, one for and like they just look like uniforms from the Next Generation, except triathlon suits. And I got red, gold, and blue, so I've got all 3 divisions that they sell them in. And I only had the red one before the Star Trek cruise, so I wore that thing a lot in the pools and going down the water slides, and that got a lot of use. And so cosplay even in the pool and so I was the only one there who had the tri-suit. But other people thought, what a great idea, and just came in the pools in full-on uniforms.
Okay.
So you've got guys standing there drinking a margarita in a pool wearing a full-on dress uniform from the Next Generation.
Oh, wow.
Hey, as long as it works. I mean, while we're plugging stuff, I just got my, when I got back from the IKEA seminar I was at last weekend, waiting for me was the Star Trek Picard field jacket I ordered in Sciences division. So that I may be taking to Star Trek Las Vegas. I'm not sure because it's Vegas in August, and even indoors it's gonna be bloody hot, and not sure yet. I'm still thinking.
Interesting. Yeah.
So were there any non-Star Trek passengers on this cruise who had no idea what they were signing up for on that date and were very confused?
Not passengers, but probably some of the crew who work in the kitchens and who work in the service part. I mean, no, of course they all knew, but yeah, it's, they booked the whole ship for the Star Trek cruise. It's a full charter.
I did see some Jedis walking around. They were out of place.
Yeah, they're probably being facetious.
Yeah.
Yeah, people do engage in non-Star Trek cosplay too. Part of that is built into the events. They have theme nights, and the conceit is that it's taking place in the holodeck, so you can have people who are pirates or soldiers or monsters or zombies. They had a zombie night, and people dress up as all kinds of different things. It's 80% Star Trek costumes, and then a smattering of other things. Although the people who won, there's a costume contest judged by John Delancey and others, and the folks who won were dressed as Hawkman and Hawkgirl, and
that's great.
They had fantastic articulated wings, like huge wings. Really, really great cosplay. Hats off to them.
Yeah,
Nice.
amazing. And talking about like props, so we saw some props from Picard season 3, so that's kind of cool.
Nice.
It was not one of the main traffic areas aboard the ship, so you had to go out on a mission to basically find the room, but it was well worth it. It was great.
And we got to watch an episode of Picard season 3 the day it came out, hosted by Todd Stashwick, who is fantastic, and
he is.
That was just a blast. His character was great on Picard season 3, and so he introduced it. That was a late night thing. I mean, I think that was like we watched that till about midnight, and had a very, very good time. And I guess we haven't talked since Star Trek Picard season 3 was a thing, and so that featured prominently on the cruise as well, because it was the current content while we were floating about.
Yeah, I know Todd Shastik. Hopefully I pronounced his name right. He stopped by O'Tribbles a lot, so he became a regular there. So it's
nice.
great. Yeah.
Nice.
And his big thing is that, hey, I went to theater school. I have a degree in theater. That's great. And
I
yeah.
bumped into Picardo in the Niners sports bar. They rename all the bars and venues on the ship in honor of the theme, like the Star Trek stuff. So I don't know what the sports bar on the ship is usually called, but they plastered over with Niners logos from Deep Space Nine, the baseball team. And so I was standing there and I think I was getting a martini, and someone beside me ordered a red wine, and it was Robert Picardo again. That's the neat thing about the cruise, is that you just keep bumping into people because they're trapped. They can't get away from you. They're on a boat. And so you'll be standing there and suddenly chatting with a person and who you've loved and admired from their roles on Star Trek, and just being able to bump into the people and have a normal human conversation, like where you'll just chat about the weather, or whether they have a degree in theater like Todd Stashwick, or whatever happens to come up in the course of an organic conversation. It's really cool.
Neat.
We should mention who was the headliner of the Star Trek cruise last year. Someone, he's a bit of an older fellow. He played a Captain Kirk.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, we saw Shatner, and it was amazing. I think he spoke on stage 3 times. So yeah, he's a character. I gave him that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we saw Captain Kirk, and that's definitely a highlight.
Yeah, that was neat. He was on the cruise for I think he joined us at the beginning and then left partway through. Like he caught a flight probably from one of the ports in Mexico. I think he was there for 3 or 4 of the days of the cruise. We were gone for 8 days, and one of our headliners next year is his old colleague Walter Koenig.
Yeah.
So he'll be there.
Randal, what are you looking forward to for next year cruise the most?
The most, well, of course, the chance to hobnob with you.
Not
even close. Lots of things. I love so many aspects of the cruise. I love the panels. I love the entertainment they put together every night. The variety shows that they do are just so well done. They have so much talent. These people who make their way onto a big program, often it's because they have a lot of different arrows in their quiver, and a lot of abilities that they don't really get to highlight, like singing and dancing, for example, playing instruments, doing stand-up comedy, and watching those shows that's always great. What am I specifically looking forward to on the next cruise that makes it differ from past ones? I haven't yet had a cruise with Sonequa Martin-Green, and she is one of the headliners on this, so I'm looking forward to that. She was on the cruise in the year when there was COVID and I couldn't go. So I understand she was fantastic. So she's coming next year. That'll be great. But also the ports of call are Aruba and Curacao. So technically in South America, I've never been to that continent. So I'm really looking forward to that. I didn't actually get off the boat on this cruise because I was more excited about the Star Trek stuff than walking around Mazatlan or Puerto Vallarta. So I stayed on the boat. I will get off the boat next year and check out Aruba and Curacao. Because again, never been there, so I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to taking my brother Sean to the cruise and see his reaction. He's currently rewatching the original series, and he doesn't know about the later series, or even the newer stuff. So he's gonna be like a fish out of water almost, and it's gonna be fun to watch. Yeah, looking forward to that.
That should be great.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, Keri, Derek, do you guys have any questions about the Star Trek cruise?
I mean, not because the cruise is really out of my price range. And to be fair, I have actually been on a cruise ship a couple of times. I haven't actually been on a cruise, but a cousin of mine used to work for Princess Cruises, so I got to actually go on the boat at a couple of times while they were in port, but I haven't actually been on a cruise. Other than, trip out to Catalina, that's like nothing.
Yeah, I almost went on that, but it was so stormy, like the day before the cruise, and I was worried back to Long Beach, so I didn't go. But I actually walked down to the terminal and check out the pricing. Yeah.
Neat.
Next time when I'm down in Los Angeles, at least the South End, I'll try to get there.
Okay.
Speaking of pricing, does your ticket pay for food and non-alcoholic beverages?
Sort of. you don't have to buy any food or drink while you're on the cruise if you just pay the price of admission and take the cruise, because there are free food venues where the food is included in the price. And when you're at those venues, you can drink all the soda and juice and whatever they have on offer there that is also free. But there are packages for other things. Like if you want to have a ton of soda pop from not just when you're at a sit down venue, or if you want to eat at an upgraded restaurant, there are packages you can buy to cover those things. Alcoholic beverages are obviously separate. You can buy a booze package that costs a whole ton of money, and then you drink all the booze you want, but also that includes all the non-alcoholic beverages you want. So, lattes, soda pop, juices, all kinds of stuff like that. And I got that package because I prefer not to be thinking about, right, oh, do I want to have another latte? That's, $7.50. I don't want to be running through in my head, like, am I racking up a giant bill here? So I just pay it in advance and, grab whatever I feel like. This year I didn't eat in the upgraded restaurants. I've always done that. And I've always been lucky doing that, because when you eat in an upgraded restaurant, there's a strong chance that the table next to you has a celebrity sitting at it. But I didn't do that this time because I was masked when indoors on the cruise. I only took my mask off to go on above deck. So it's not all inclusive, but it's reasonably inclusive. It's inclusive enough that you can you won't die of starvation if you don't buy a food package, because there's lots of free venues. Free.
That sounds pretty standard from other things.
Yeah, I can tell you from my experience is that the drink package, the booze package, in hindsight, that was probably a bad idea for me to buy it. Because you feel like you have to drink just to get your money's worth. And it's not only that, you're not going to get your money's worth. And it's cheaper just to buy drinks individually, I think, unless you're a complete alcoholic. And I'm only a social alcoholic, so...
Well, in my defense, who just said that I enjoyed buying the drink package, I drink so much soda pop it would make your eyes water. In part because I get kidney stones and I have to drink all the time. So I drank a ton of non-alcoholic beverages. I probably would have been financially slightly better off to not buy the booze package, because I would have a couple of drinks a day, boozy drinks. But again, depends on how much you value not having to keep a running tab in your head. And I value that significantly. I like to, once I paid for the thing, not think about it anymore. And so that was worth it for me. But yeah. I did teach one of the bartenders a drink he didn't know how to make. It was fun. A boulevardier, which is basically a Negroni, but you swap out the gin for bourbon. And every time I walked into his bar, for whatever show was happening, I would hear him say boulevardier, and he would just make it and give it to me because he knew I had the drink package. So I didn't even order it, but I ended up having a few boulevardiers that I didn't plan. And that's the other thing with the drink package. You can try out drinks, and if you hate them, you don't have to drink it, because it's kind of prepaid and free.
So, Keri, for Star Trek Las Vegas, which has happened the first week of August this year, is there drink packages you could buy? Okay.
No. But there is, I believe, there's one stage that is that has a bar in it. I believe that's Jimmy's.
Are you going for all 4 days, or?
Yeah, this year I'm going for all 4 days. I got my tickets in December, booked my hotel, didn't want to screw with anything, and I know one night is the Mission Log party for all the Mission Log Patreon people, and then I have no idea what I have no plan really for the rest of the weekend. Just hang out with my Star Trek pals, and maybe I may get to a panel this time around that's not Mission Log related, but who knows? I haven't decided yet.
Are you staying on property?
Yeah, I'm staying at the Rio, but I'm not sure if I'm staying I don't remember if I'm staying in the tower that the convention is in, or if I'm staying in the other tower. Either way, it's on site, and apparently much better than Bally's, at least because last year it was at Bally's because there was supposed to be some renovations going on at the Rio, but that ended up not happening, and we're back at the Rio this time around.
Yeah, cool. Who knows? The future is hard to predict.
This is true.
Yeah. All right, Derek, man, you've been quiet. What's happening with you? You're a curious soul. You should have a question or two.
Well, I did ask about the pricing.
Okay.
Yeah, I was actually looking at possibly doing a cruise this year. I ended up not going with it, but yeah, I was doing a little bit. I do have the COVID fears, though. I am concerned about getting on a ship like that.
Yeah, I think I get COVID. It's just the, like I got COVID too, and I'm fully vaccinated with like 3 boosters, and I think I probably had it when it first hit North America. But yeah, it wasn't a serious case of COVID, but I was down for 5-6 days at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But certainly, it sounds like a lot of fun, and hopefully one day I'll do that. I did buy some lotto tickets today, so if I win that lotto ticket, I'm going to be going on cruises all the time. Let me tell you.
Oh, good. And you're trying to live a professional life as a writer too, so there's that. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh God. But before we close our doors, just very briefly, let's go back to Randal's Nether Regions, because it's such a large topic, right?
Nice.
Anyway, which way, man. So let's talk about the entire trilogy. Before
Sure.
Life, Afterlife, Nether Regions. And we've had you on before to talk about the first 2 books. This is the time we're talking about your 3rd book, right? And it's a blue cover, and you have Socrates with an AK-47 holding a hand grenade. Was that right? So it's with Detroit as a background. So I hate to pigeonhole, but I've been told, like I've read things that they describe the genre you're writing as weird fiction. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, someone did a review of it on one of these view sites about the new weird. There's a genre, I guess they're calling the new weird. I don't think a lot about genre when I write, which, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, but I just write the story that seems interesting to me. And if it ends up having sci-fi elements or fantasy elements, like when Before Life came out, it won an award for fantasy fiction. And I thought, oh, I wrote a fantasy book. What do you know? And then it won an award for comedy. And I'm like, oh, I wrote a comedy book. What do you know? But like, I just didn't think about genre so much. Like the book I'm currently writing is set in a law school, but then suddenly the aliens destroy the earth in an early part of the book. And I'm like, oh, I guess this one's got sci-fi in it too. So I have no idea how to write a book, really. I just write books that I would like to read, right? Like I didn't study the craft. I've written a lot of academic books and pieces, so I just thought I'm going to write some stories that I like and see if they take off, and happily they kind of did, and been having a lot of fun with it. But this one was written entirely during a global pandemic, Nether Regions, of course, and with the rise of populism in some very horrible ways and some nasty uses of identity politics. And so a lot of those themes found their way into Nether Regions, and also a lot of stuff about spirituality and empiricism. And these are the topics I was trying to explore in the book. Always, of course, trying to just sort of gently lampoon things rather than make deep social commentary. But yeah, a good time was had by me. It kept me out of the public houses, and I gave me something to do during lockdown, and had a hoot writing it. And I may return to the Before Life world in a subsequent book, but for now I'm writing a couple of standalones and working on that. But yeah, I enjoyed writing the book. It's probably my favorite book in the series. People always say that of it, whatever the most recent book is that they had come out. But I think Derek shared that assessment. Derek sent me a lovely text when he finished reading the book, and saying that he likes my Nether Regions best. It was the one I enjoyed writing the most. I mean, Before Life I had a blast writing, but it took 5 years because I didn't know really what I was doing at all. By book three took me a year to write, and I knew where I was going because I had the idea for book 3 midway through book 1. And it transformed an awful lot by the time it came to fruition. But it was certainly fun, and it seems to be having a reasonable reception. So that's very gratifying to occasionally get notes from someone. I've got a professional website now, randalgraham.com, and there's an area there where you can send fan mail and whatnot. And so once in a while I'll get a picture of someone in Australia holding my book, or someone in Europe holding the book, and it's really cool seeing that sort of thing happen. And all for something that I thought might completely fall on its face when I started the whole enterprise. So it's been super fun, and you guys have provided a really lovely venue. I'm really grateful to you guys for having me in to talk about my little nuisances every now and again.
It's been a few months since I read it, so my memories already grow vague. But I definitely remember that the third one was my favorite of the trilogy. I really enjoyed the story. It was really funny. Let's see. Yeah. So in the second one, it didn't star the main character, which I found a little frustrating. So I was really glad that the third one came back to the main character from the original book, and it was a great summation of the two previous stories while starring the original main character. And it was really funny, great story, had a good bit of action in it. It was really good. And I can remember several times when I was legitimately laughing out loud at certain things. I remember there was at the very end, there was an incel joke that I totally did not see coming. And it was set up so obviously in retrospect, and it flew right by me. And then when the punchline landed, I laughed so hard.
Yeah, some of the jokes, I won't spoil anything for people who haven't read it yet, but a colleague of mine read the book, and he said, I was sitting in bed and I started laughing out loud. And he said, my wife woke up and said, what are you reading? And he told her, she said, well, what's the joke? And he said, the joke would have taken half an hour to set up, because like a lot of it's like really silly wordplay that is set up way early on in the book, and this one was it was the line, Karen wants to see the manager, but the setup for that made it a very complicated joke indeed. And he said, no, I can't explain the joke to you, I'm sorry. And I like that. I like jokes that you set up and then pay off about 250 pages later. Like the whole name, Ian Brown, and the way he's moving around Detroit, and then at the end of book one, they make a play on it. It's Brownie in motion, Brown Ian, because his name's backwards. And that's highly annoying to some people, so I can only apologize. But other people seem to not mind so much. So yeah, I was really, I felt so grateful when Derek sent me that note. Especially, I think you said the last third of the book or so, where a lot of the action happens. You wrote really nice things about that. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciated it.
Sure.
Coming from another author.
Yeah,
that's amazing. All right, I think we've been talking for an hour, and I think it's time to close our doors. So any last thoughts about either the Star Trek cruise or Nether Regions or anything that's happening in the universe right now?
You guys mentioned that Tawny Newsome was on the cruise. I actually just started listening to her podcast. It's Star Trek The Pod Directive, and she's very funny and charming on that.
Nice.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Her and Paul F. Tompkins, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They don't do many episodes though. There were very few episodes over the course of several years, but the ones that I did listen to are very funny.
Well, they're both very busy people.
Yeah. Yeah, I love her on Lower Decks. She's so funny on that.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to going and seeing Wes Anderson's latest movie, Asteroid City. And then Indiana Jones, the fifth one in the series, is dropping next week. So Dial Up Destiny. And since I'm an old guy, I like watching old actors. So Harrison Ford's definitely up there.
Yeah, I'm a terrible DC fan. I still haven't seen The Flash, but I've spent this week recovering from getting my ass kicked for last weekend. So yeah. I think everything's finally forgiven me. Maybe.
All right. This show is available on most podcast platforms and on YouTube. Subscribe today. For listener engagement announcements, follow us on Twitter at SciFi Pubcast. And if you wish to contact us directly, our email address is management@scifipubcast.space. We love hearing from our listeners or customers or anyone, actually. Please contact us. Send us spam, okay? I don't care. Twitter handles, because Twitter still seems to be the platform that people are on. Keri, what's your Twitter address?
My Twitter handle is Keri Blackfire42. That's KERI Blackfire42.
And what other podcasts are you doing?
I am on the Cape Chronicles, Enter the Dojo, and occasionally DC Talk when I get around to recording it. I've been trying for every 2 weeks, but yeah, it's just me at the moment. Those are all over at the Random Chatter Network.
Excellent. Derek, what's your Twitter address?
I am at Derek J. Beebe. My website is derekbeebe.com. And fingers crossed, in a couple months, the first of my novels will be available on Amazon Marketplace.
Excellent.
On Kindle,
That's
I should
exciting.
say. It's an ebook.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to buy some. And please check out Derek's website. So what's the website again?
derekbeebe.com.
There we go. Randal.
That's not the same as your OnlyFans, is it?
Right.
Right,
That would be
yeah.
different.
Oh no.
That one actually makes money.
Gotcha.
Who knew there was a market? Really?
Yeah, the self-publishing thing is a loss leader to lower my taxes.
Oh,
Nice.
God.
Oh boy.
Nice. Oh, God. Randal, what's your Twitter address, sir?
It's at Randal_Graham. And like Derek, I have a website with my name on it, randalgraham.com.
There you go. My Twitter address is at Joel_Welch. So my first and last name. It's closing time. Take it home. Please make it home safely. We'll see you next time. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Music provided courtesy of Logan Rathbone. Podcast logo by Jea Rhee. Copyrighted Joe Welch. Listen responsibly. And we can't wait for your next visit to our fine establishment. Cheers.